On this week's episode of Friend Code, we're talking about the Nindies. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. This week I'm joined by Ian Hink.
Hi.
And our special guest from GameXplain, Ash Paulsen.
Hello there.
And we got a lot to talk about with the Nindies that happened. Nindies Direct happened recently, and before that there was actually a Gamescom video presentation that also covered a bunch of indie games for Switch. And I wanted to start off real quick before we dive into it, just clarify what was going on, because there was some confusion and questions about what we'd be covering on this episode. So originally, at the end of the last episode of Friend Code, I said, hey, I know a bunch of you wrote in questions about the Nindy stuff. We will definitely cover it on the following episode, which is to be this week's episode. And then, of course, Nintendo announces a Nintendo Direct was going to happen today and completely changed course and said, okay, because it's a 30-minute Direct, it's probably going to fill up the entirety of the episode, so we're only going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct announcements. And I saw some people upset about that. And then, as you saw, unfortunately, there was a big earthquake in Hokkaido, Japan. Just want to say, sympathies to anyone who is affected by that.
Of course.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
It sucks. And it's sometimes Mother Nature sucks like that. And they decided to delay, out of respect for everyone there, they decided to delay the Direct to a later date. And now we're back at Nindies. And I'm going to say thank you to Ash for the back and forth, because they originally got Ash on. They're like, oh, we got the Nintendo Direct. And last minute, it was like, can you come back on again?
No, I felt bad too, because once the Direct was announced, I was like, well, I'm gonna be working with Andre and Derek and John on post-Direct content until at least for another good 3-4 hours.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to make it. So I'm glad that you and I were on the same page about that. For sure.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
He's so busy.
There's no way.
No way he's going to be saying,
Yeah.
hey, no way that's happening.
Yeah, on a Direct
and I'm
day,
now
yeah.
I got to find an extra person to join with Ian and I, because it's like, all right, guys, who wants to come and do this with us? And I was like, it's a Nintendo Direct. It's a
Right.
big one. But, so, yeah, look forward to that. Maybe next episode we'll see. But Nindies Direct stuff. This one was hosted by Kirk Scott, the manager of the manager of publisher and developer relations, and this was about a 15-minute video that covered a wide variety of indie games, and Nintendo's been doing this for the last few years, right around PAX West or PAX Prime now. Or no, PAX Prime used to be PAX West
Right.
now.
Yeah.
They do it right before it comes out, and it's a nice little thing they do. And this one started off. They got right off the bat with a Hyper Light Drifter. This version, it's already been released. It's finally coming to Switch. So this one's going to come with an exclusive outfit for the Switch version that will help you reveal secrets. It's also going to come with some exclusive new weapons, apparently, for the Switch version as well. By the time you're listening to this, whether you're a patron or not, it's already out, September 6th. It's hitting Switch. And just real quick, for anyone who's not terribly familiar with Hyper Light Drifter, originally a Kickstarter game from Alex Preston. He dubbed it a combination of A Link to the Past and Diablo, and I guess the kind of the themes of the game were kind of inspired by the heart disease that he so it's a very personal thing for him.
Yeah, he's actually a friend of mine.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
It's based on his health issues and stuff like that. Sort of very, very abstracted. There's no dialogue in the game or anything, but yeah.
That's pretty
Heart
cool.
machine.
And the visuals, this is the thing that besides the visuals, the first thing that grabbed my attention, but also what people were saying about them. There are a lot of comparisons to Studio Ghibli work. People get throwing around Castle in the Sky. I believe Alex actually said it was Nazca of the Valley of the Wind was the biggest inspiration actually for that. So I'd like to know both of your experiences with this game. Have you played it? And what are your thoughts about it? Specifically coming to Switch. Are you excited for this?
Well, especially as in a Link to the Past style experience, I think it's perfect for Switch. Of course, that's kind of the meme now. It's perfect for Switch. It's got to come to Switch, but
Because everything's perfect.
I know everything is. I have not personally played it. It's one of the mini games that has fallen victim to the too many games, too little time thing that we all go through. However, it is high on my list. I really, really want to play this game, if only because everything I've heard about it is just, it's phenomenal. It's a must-play title. So it's definitely on my radar. John reviewed it for GameXplain. He loved it. And and he and I see eye to eye on a lot of things, so that's also another great endorsement for him. I love the art style. I love just the overall vibe of it. I didn't know that about the guy who made it is your friend, and it's based on his health issues. So I think going into it knowing that, I think is going to make it even more interesting for me. And this is a game that is absolutely on my radar and has been on my radar. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet.
Yeah, it's visual. The visuals are my favorite part, and the music. I think Disaster Piece, Rich Freeland did the music.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he did all the music. Maybe other people did some too. But visually, I think it's an amazing game. I'm looking forward. I'm gonna play it on the Switch for sure. I'm gonna download it later today.
Oh, today?
Probably. I mean, it came out today.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Might as well.
true.
What kind of music is it? Like, what's the soundtrack like?
Kind of like ambient electronic synthy, kind
Nice.
of Blade Runner-y.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good style.
Yeah, it's a good
Definitely down
style.
for
I like that style.
Definitely down for that.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I'm in the same boat as you, Ash. Actually, this is something that I never got around to. There were, I think, 2 times I almost pulled the trigger on trying to jump into it, but I think, especially now it's coming to Switch, it's definitely have to get this at some point. Have to dive in. I think the holidays is when I'll probably get in, because the last December I actually picked up 2 or 3 different indie titles off the Switch eShop. I was just I'm gonna just try through these out. And now it's gonna be. I have a lot to choose from that are great.
Yes.
This is definitely gonna be at the top of that short list now. Last year was SteamWorld Dig was the one too. Was the one that stood out the most. I had a blast.
The game
with
is
that.
fantastic.
Two?
Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
SteamWorld Dig 2.
Man, all those are so good.
Yeah.
And then
Heist is really
the
good, too.
Blossom, the Zelda-like game.
Blossom Tales. That's what came to mind when you said December, because that's what I was playing in December as well, and that was really good.
So I recognize the quality, but I have this. This is a personal Damiani issue here.
Uh-huh.
I have a weird I don't want to say, maybe it's a bias. It's almost like an aversion to anything that is labeled a Zelda clone.
Okay.
I go into it and my mindset just changes, and it was trying to, I guess some of the parody of it was just, to me, didn't sit well enough with me, and I'm sure, and that's just a me issue, and it was just taking me away from the gameplay so much that I just wasn't enjoying it because of that. Even though I knew this gameplay was actually good, and I was enjoying it, but the narrative stuff and the parody stuff
It's
at the beginning,
jokey or
okay.
Sure, I know what you're talking about.
The opening literally tries to be the story. It tries to say it's a legend or something. They cut it off.
Totally.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
I was oh, come on. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it's cute. It's funny, but at the same time, sometimes you just are too deep into a fandom, and that's just the reality.
Too deep. You're in too deep, Damiani.
No, I totally hear you. Although I feel like
keep-
it did do that kind of aping the 2D Zelda style quite well. Although most people at the time were saying that it was a Link to the Past or based on a Link to the Past, and I actually disagree. The way the size of the character and of the main character herself and the way she moves actually reminded me more of Link's Awakening.
I was gonna say Game Boy Legend of Zelda was the vibe I was getting from it.
Right.
I mean, I don't think I went into it thinking, oh, this is a Link to the Past clone or something like that. But that's what people are saying. I mean, I didn't play all of it, so obviously I can't speak. But what you just said, and going up,
and
the
I
little
did play all of
played,
it.
I played an hour.
Uh-huh.
I was this is a Game Boy Zelda-ish game.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love those
Probably
games.
they just said the one that most people.
Yeah, when you throw out a Link to the Past for
everyone's
retro
like, "Oh,
Zeldas,
right."
it's the mainstream pinnacle. But some other people are like, wait, don't forget about Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Then all the other people will be like, don't forget about the Oracle games.
Right.
And some people will even be like, don't forget about the Minish Cap.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I will say that it's a shame you didn't get to the end, because some of the best music in that game comes at the final dungeon. So it is worth it to get to the end if you're a big.
Listen to it.
Yeah, you can at least listen to it.
The soundtrack.
Yes, it's worth it.
I know that
Watch
it doesn't
the playthrough. Yeah.
It doesn't exactly give you the same feeling of, because music listening on its own without the context is a whole different thing for your first experience versus experiencing it in an epic fight or something like that.
That is why I have not listened to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 soundtrack yet, because I have not had a chance to play the
That
game,
is
and I
a good
refuse.
decision.
Yes, I refuse to hear that game or to hear that soundtrack in anything but the proper context for the first time. So
very wise, very wise. We have our first question submitted from our patrons, and it comes from Adam. And this question is about Hyper Light Drifter. I didn't get a lot of questions about specific games listed in the Direct, but these are all questions centered around Nindies for the Switch, and just broader questions about that. And as I said, the first one comes from Adam, and Adam says, "Yay, Ash returns!" in hopes that a direct doesn't derail this episode.
Wow.
And they wrote that before.
And it sure did, or almost did. Yeah.
Very prophetic.
But the best kind of derailment.
That's great.
Like anytime you get
Double
a direct,
derailed.
it's great.
I'm scared of indie games. Lately, the major ones I've tried fall into two categories: multiplayer or extremely difficult. I'm currently dying my way through Hyperlight Drifter. Ian, next time you hang out with that dev, shake your fist at them for me.
Will do.
Nice.
Do indie games crank up the difficulty, or am I just bad at games? Or do the easy ones just not get as much attention? Are there any good, relaxing indie games coming up that you would recommend to someone with subpar reflexes? Thanks, and have a good one, Adam.
All right. Well, we actually were just talking about one. Of course, now difficulty is relative. You know, one person's hard game might be another person's easy game, but Blossom Tales, actually, I think is a good example of a indie game that is perfectly manageable difficulty-wise. And now, of course, that is one that's not super popular. It hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but one that has, and I may get a little flack for this because some people consider this to be a really hard game, but Shovel Knight is one of the highest profile indies you could, ask for, and it had the way its checkpoint system works, or its death system works, is that there are no lives. You can never run out of lives, and you can hit or skip as many checkpoints as you want, thus adjusting your own difficulty on the fly. So if you hit every checkpoint, you're never going to get kicked back too far if you die. And personally, I think Shovel Knight's very manageable if you do that. So, and you should play Shovel Knight anyway. Like, please play Shovel Knight. It's phenomenal. So I think that's a really good one, personally.
It's a good suggestion.
I would recommend. It's difficult, but in a different way, and it's never that hard and challenging. Is Yoku's Island Express?
Yeah.
Good
Super good. Really chill vibes. We recently played it at Easy Living, but it's very You said relaxing, right? So Yoku's Island Express came to mind immediately. It's a Metroidvania pinball game where the difficulty is not in like fighting a boss, but just like how do I get the pinball to go right there, which is kind of a low stress problem generally. So you might dig that one. I love that game. Good vibes.
I feel those two suggestions, Shovel Knight and Yoku's Island Express, have I think the even with the generous checkpoint systems or that focus, watching them, or at least watching Yoku's at Easy Living, I played through Hollow Knight. I think the reflex part, they're saying like I don't have the greatest reflexes.
Sure.
Even with a generous checkpoint system, I think if you fail enough, you just kind of get turned off.
That's fair.
You could take a break, but if they're constantly experiencing it, so I guess are there any like more adventure or like narrative driven ones you could suggest?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm playing one right now called Cosmic Star Heroine, and
I always wanted to play that.
It's so Chrono Trigger inspired. It's so clear that the battle system is totally inspired by Chrono Trigger, which in my opinion you can't ask for a better inspiration because that's my favorite game of all time.
On Switch?
It's on Switch now. Yeah.
Oh, whoa! I gotta get that.
Yeah, and you can adjust the difficulty on the fly. It's an RPG, a JRPG style game, and you can adjust the difficulty on the fly. And I've been messing around with the various difficulties. And if you play on the harder ones, it can be pretty challenging. But the easier ones, it even says, I think the description for one of the easier difficulties is for those who like victory. And it's a very it's a very breezy, very relaxing experience. And if you're like me and you don't necessarily feel like you have to play through in the hardest difficulty and you just want to have a nice relaxing time, I would recommend that. And it doesn't require any sorts of reflexes because the combat is menu based, turn based. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend that one. Cosmic Star Heroine. I haven't finished it, but so far from what I played, that's a few hours. I'm really enjoying it.
Kind of on the lines still of some reflexes, platforming kind of stuff, but sort of more make your own platforms, make your own way. The SteamWorld Dig games, I think, are really phenomenal. They do have a couple of little difficulty bumps, I think, but nothing too terrible. And SteamWorld Dig 2, I think, is even more manageable than 1.
Okay.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Dig 2 felt a little easier to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can get through the whole game. I think I 100%ed SteamWorld Dig 2 in 7 or 8 hours, something like that. I don't remember specifically, but it's not that long. And I really like those devs are really nice. The games are really good. SteamWorld Heist is much harder, but still very cool. But yeah, those games are really good.
I need to actually go and play the first SteamWorld Dig. 'Cause I've only played 2.
I went back and played the first one, and you can see where it's cool to see the genesis of a series like that, especially where the sequel's so much better.
Yeah.
And you can see where all the better stuff took root.
Gotcha.
And I do have one more suggestion, actually, that just came to mind. It's another platformer, but this also can be made as easy as you want it to be, kind of like Shovel Knight, and that's Mighty Gunvolt Burst. That's an Inti Creates game, and don't let the Mighty Number 9 connotation or connection throw you off or scare you away.
Yeah.
This is absolutely Mighty Number 9 the way it should have been the first time around. It proves that Beck was never the problem. He's a cool character. It was the game he was in that was the problem. And Inti Creates took Beck and the Mighty Numbers and put them in an actual 8-bit retro style platformer that is 100 million billion gazillion times better than Mighty Number 9. So please do not let that turn you off of it. And if you like platformers but want one that lets you kind of set your own difficulty on the fly and make it as easy as you want, I do recommend that.
Inti Creates made the bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
They did,
Yeah,
and
they-
Blaster
they
Master
did a
Zero
lot
as
of
well.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, Curse of the Moon's good. Not easy.
Not easy.
We might have 1 or 2 Inti Creates games on this list as well.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
I'll throw my hand in the ring real quick. Rhyme, if you
Okay.
have access to one of the versions that aren't don't have as many performance issues.
Yeah, I played it on the PS4 and I didn't love it because of that.
Yeah, they've been. I think they've patched the PS4 and PC versions at least once. They did do a Switch patch as well. I don't think it did enough, but if you have access to PS4 or PC version, I would say, and the patches have come far enough along. I played it on PlayStation 4 Pro when I released it, and I had very minimal performance issues.
Regular.
Sure.
Yeah.
It had
And
pretty bad performance issues.
Yeah. So if you can play without performance issues somehow, really good game, very slow paced, like very minimal platforming. You don't actually fight anything. It's about exploration and puzzles, and it's all silent, like no dialogue in it, and really good music. And it's not that long at all. I think you would enjoy that as well.
Has The Witness ever come? Has that ever been rumored to come to Switch?
I don't think it has.
Can't remember offhand.
Yeah.
I mean, they could port technically.
You could port it.
If you really want, but
You could.
it's just
I mean,
how much effort.
the puzzles would be fun with the finger controls, but
Would be cool.
whatever.
Next game on the list from the Nindies was TowerFall. From Matt Makes Games. We just did Celeste. Archery combat multiplayer game. And it's great for couch multiplayer. This is a very popular game for at least game trailers days. This was like played a lot in the back. I remember seeing that. The Switch version is going to include all the expansions, all the content from that. Exclusively to the Switch version is play as Madeline and is it Badeline?
Battling. Yeah, Madeline and Battling.
Badeline, who from Celeste, is going to actually have 6-player battles utilizing widescreen levels. That was like the big thing in the trailer.
Cool.
It goes from 4:3 to 16:9. I was like, okay, like that's going to be interesting. 4 new gameplay variants. They already said they have a lot of variants in there, but they're throwing in 4 more. Didn't see what the specific ones. It was kind of funny. As a quick aside, a lot of the script that was being read in the Nindies Direct, that same verbiage is on a lot of these game pages, home pages, or Tumblr pages.
Sure.
So I don't know who did what. Like, did the developers write this first and just give it to Nintendo, or did Nintendo write these beautiful things and then they just take it? But
I would guess the
I
developers
think
had
the
their like
developers-
That's what I'm
best
thinking.
blurbs, and they just
Yeah.
sent them in
Oh,
and
yeah.
they just read them.
but it's very nice wording, so they might as well use it. This is coming September 27th. And so obviously I know Ian has played TowerFall. Have you played this game before, Ash?
I have it on PS4.
All right.
And I mean, I don't know what I can say about it other than it is perfect for Switch. I mean, it really is. The whole couch multiplayer vibe, the retro style graphics. It's not the kind of game you're going to have a compromised experience because the Switch is lower specs or anything like that. And it is a multiplayer focused game, and the Switch is a multiplayer focused system when it wants to be. So. Yeah, I mean it's great that it's coming to Switch. It feels like a natural fit, and I'll be downloading it for sure. I don't mind double dipping because TowerFall's great, and I never really found that many people to play it with online on PS4. So, although that's personally probably my fault because I don't play online all that much, but I would love to have it on my Switch to play locally with other friends.
This been something we've played on the group stream yet at Easy Allies, Ian?
Maybe. I've always been like, I've always had like Cassandra syndrome when it comes to these like Samurai Gun and Towerfall, because I always have preferred Samurai Gun, but like I felt like no one believed me ever, and like no one would ever play it. And like Towerfall's good, it's great, but like yeah, so I don't know.
It's always, I can just remember many times in the past Ian going, Samurai Gun, like, for stuff, or, it's like, can we play one of these? And it's like, people...
Samurai Gun is the controls are perfect.
Yeah. Samurai Gun, like
and
cries for Samurai Gun to be played or heard many a time.
But no, Towerfall's good.
But yeah, that looks, if you've never seen it before, like, the nice like retro aesthetic, and this looks like really fun, like simple controls. It might look a little bit more, I think, complicated in the videos perhaps, but I think just spending like 5 minutes with it, you'll get it. You'll understand.
It's
how
got
it
a lot
works.
more like items and stuff.
That's where I think if you're like wondering about meta and stuff like that, that's probably where it comes in. But just in terms of like playing with friends and enjoying it, I think that's all you really need to like understand to have a good time with it.
Well, and hopefully it pushes some players toward Celeste if they haven't already played it, because that's a great game. And since it's the same developer, perhaps those who purchase Towerfall like it and like what they see and play, they'll be like, oh, hey, this other game, Celeste, and oh, this character is from Celeste. Maybe I should check that out. And that's a game that should be played.
Celeste is very hard, though.
No, that's true. It's
So
for Adam, not for Adam. Don't play that. Yeah.
Be careful of that one.
Yes.
But I mean, pretty like for Mammox Games, like pretty impressive to have Towerfall and then Celeste as well. Like
right.
I mean,
Towerfall started on the Ouya, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow, the Ouya. Oh man.
Matt's a nice guy too.
Nice.
So.
We have another question. It comes from I think it's 1D10 the show is their username. Hey allies and Ash, the indies are flowing faster and faster, and many older indies are making their way to the Switch, but there are still some gaps. What indie currently unavailable for the Switch would you love to see brought over? Love and respect.
Oh man.
Well, The Witness, I suppose.
Oh yeah,
I just brought that up. Let me think.
Take a second. Because up until this direct, there were like a few, I think, like we knew it was coming, like Undertale, but that was a big one.
Undertale's a big one,
and it's finally is going to be coming, but people were like clamoring like for that. Like it seemed like one of the most obvious ones. Thinking about like some of the old stuff, like going back to even like Wii days, like is it on Switch? World of Goo.
World of Goo is on Switch.
Think it is.
Yes.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah. So is Cave Story.
Cave Story. Yeah. I know that one's on there.
This would be kind of funny. The console ports of the Myst series have never been good, but like they're coming out with all the new HD collection soon. Very soon, I think. That might be funny on the Switch. I wonder.
It was a Wii game. It was not a Wii or anything. It was an actual physical release. Lost in Shadows.
Okay.
Shadow. It was like the game.
I kind of remember that.
Like foreground. You are the foreground makes the shadows obviously, and you are a shadow. You're like cursed to be like in the shadow world, and you have to interact. You can make things. You can interact in the real world to like change light sources or whatever, and that's how you can like make paths open to progress.
I vaguely remember.
I forget if it's Lost in Shadow or Lost
too.
in Shadows. I forget if I actually did the review or someone else reviewed it, like a freelancer, and I did the capture for it. But when I just remember playing it and being like, this is actually pretty good. I'd like to see this, get another one or something, get more attention. I don't know if it was an indie game, but it was so small scale. I think it might have been. Because I don't remember the developer.
Right.
Any others? I feel like there's some like ones we are missing.
Well, I have.
Was FTL on Switch? Because Into the Breach Shadow dropped at the end.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I don't
FTL?
think. Yeah. Okay, so FTL.
Okay, FTL. That's my answer. Where's it?
Is VVVVVV on there?
That's
a good one. I think it might be.
I think it was. I think it is now. I feel like I remember hearing about that.
I beat it on computer. So
I played it on 3DS. It's great.
Check on the eShop.
There is a. It's not a popular one, but it's a lesser known PS3 indie, I think, that I played years ago called The Unfinished Swan.
Oh yeah,
that is one that I would love to see on Switch. That's a game. Just the gameplay is so unique that's a game that I think should be played by more people.
What Remains of Edith Finch too.
That's a good one.
Same company.
I do have a newer one that I don't think very many people played. It's part of the Square Enix collective, and it's called Octahedron, and it's a rhythm-driven platformer, kind of like a synesthetic crazy electronic, crazy colors, kind of like Rez almost, but it's a 2D platformer, and you create your own platforms to get through these increasingly difficult stages. And the soundtrack is done by various chiptune artists and electronic music artists. It is a really good game, and because other games in the Square Enix Collective get almost no play and no attention, I actually mentioned it to a buddy at Nintendo, hoping that they might check it out and get it on the Switch, because it's perfect for the Switch.
Really good.
But no, Octahedron is a game I would love to see on the Switch, and if you have a PS4 and you like rhythm games and platformers, go check it out.
It's like Old School Musical, which is coming to the Switch, and then Just Beats and Shapes. It might be PC only.
No, it's Switch. It actually debuted on Switch and PC.
Just Shapes and
Beats. Yeah,
I didn't know it was on
love
Switch.
that game.
That game is fun.
Yeah,
man,
that
that'd be
game
hard
is
with a controller. I played with a mouse.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well,
use Joy-Cons?
No, you just play with the analog stick. It's quite easy. Not easy,
right.
but it's quite natural feeling. But that debuted in at the end of June or at the end of May on
I didn't
Switch
know
and
it was
PC.
on Switch. Okay, that's funny.
Nice. Good suggestions.
It's a good one.
It's a great game.
Nice. The next game in our list, Treasure Stack.
Yeah.
This is actually a brand new announcement. It's from Pixelaches, coming to Switch, Steam, and Xbox, but not PlayStation. And you'll see why in a second.
Okay.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because this is a block puzzle game with a platforming twist, and it's going to have an emphasis on cross-platform online play.
Of course.
So probably hence no Sony. But there'll also be local multiplayer as well. It's coming this winter. I'm very curious about your thoughts on this reveal.
I was busy in the GX backend trying to add tags and descriptions and stuff, but I tend to kind of go glassy-eyed when puzzle games start coming on the screen, because I'm just not a big puzzle game fan other than Tetris Attack. I love my Tetris Attack, but yeah, I mean, I've seen comparisons drawn to Wario's Woods, and I can see why, for sure. It looks interesting. It's just not because, again, I'm not a big puzzle gamer. It's not the first thing I'd really go out for and be like, I have to play this. But it does look promising, and I do like that they're taking the platformer angle with it. And it's something that I would like to see more of, but it's just one I'm not quite as sure about yet.
Gotcha.
I think I like puzzle games. I like Tumblestone or Tricky Towers, Puyo Puyo Tetris, that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for this one. I think if the price is right, it'll be really good, really fun to play if you can get enough people to play with you. But yeah, I'm excited.
That's a good point. The price point. I mean, I feel like everyone, you were saying the joke, more everything on Switch basically, but price point I think is also going to be more important as time goes on, with so many more games, especially indie games coming to Switch. And fighting for more attention. 2 or 3 years from now will be the same story. Everyone's a Cinderella story coming on Switch, or I'm seeing record sales I never saw before.
Right.
And I wonder how much more important I'll get, because this is a game because platforming speaks to my heart. Even if it's a puzzle game, I just see the platforming and I go, I have to try this. I'm going to try this. I imagine this is going to be a candidate probably for a group stream at the very least.
Sure.
Maybe we'll do a Nindies focused or indie focused group stream where we just go through a grab bag of the different ones. Would be awesome. I think this would be really fun. I know there's a lot of history on our end with the game trailers with puzzle games dating back to the money puzzle exchange at the GT offices. So those things get pretty heated. But just the thing about the different characters you select, there's items and progression stuff as well in there. And it just seemed a lot of effort and a lot of depth to what is a puzzle, essentially a puzzle game, a block puzzle game, which I don't know if I really am accustomed to that. So it's kind of,
right.
I haven't gone on in a deep dive in that genre of games, but at the same time, it still kind of strikes me as a little bit impressive.
Right. Well, it is something that I do want to check out, because as you'll see when we talk about a game coming up from the Nindies Direct, I don't have a blanketed dislike of puzzle games. There are certain games when I play them, I'll make a definite exception for, and this may end up being one of those games because of the platformer angle. Yeah. So it's usually just for me when it's anchored around a puzzle experience, I just tend to be I'm not sure about this yet, but I'm going to wait and watch and see, and it very well may end up being a game that I do play.
Very good point. We have our next question.
All right.
From Straw Hat Ninja.
Oh, Straw Hat Ninja. I recognize that name. They're a backer for us, too. Thank you, Straw Hat.
Greetings, allies, and Ash, who also says, congrats on hitting 1 million subscribers.
Thank you very much.
Oh, dang.
Yes.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very nice. Just a little jealous? No.
Yeah, a little bit, a little jealous.
No, that's really awesome.
Thank you very much.
We have like 800,000 to go.
Yeah, a million.
Hey, you're getting there though.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Slow and steady.
Maybe steps to the elevator.
My question is involving how Nintendo is handling indies. Nintendo has the Xenoblade DLC this month, Mario Party in October, Pokemon in November, and Smash in December. But otherwise, it's mostly indie games keeping everyone playing their Switch. Has Nintendo's focus on indies helped the Switch continue to sell well, and will developers continue to choose Nintendo over Sony and Microsoft since they seem to be giving them more advertising?
It's a good question, a good two-part question, and I would say no to the first and yes to the second. I do think that indies are going to continue choosing Nintendo because it used to be that PlayStation was the friendly place for indies, and actually before that, Xbox was with Xbox Live Arcade in the early days. Now, not so much. It seems like, with a few rare exceptions, that both Microsoft and Sony have kind of abandoned their focus on indies, and Nintendo has been more than happy to step in and fill that void. So I do think that indies are going to end up staying with or picking Nintendo in general. And another reason for that is because you keep seeing these news stories where Blossom Tales is a perfect example again, where I think Blossom Tales sold four times better on the Switch than it did on Steam. So you're seeing these stories of these success stories of indie games that are just selling like hotcakes on the Switch that never were able to find an audience on Steam because of all the noise on Steam. There's so much more noise to sift through.
That's very
and
true.
I do think, to second what you said, from various developer friends that I have heard that Sony basically actually mandate from above, like high command in Japan or whatever. It was like, we're kind of done with the indie thing.
Right.
And Nintendo is intentionally kind of filling that vacuum, I think. And Microsoft is still doing well, but it seems like they're going more in we want to own a bunch of publishers ourselves kind of route too.
Right.
So who knows?
That's very true.
Nintendo does seem to allow a little more freedom. Now, of course, I'm not a developer myself, so I can't say that for sure. But Nintendo does seem to be willing to let these publishers, these small-time publishers, keep ownership of their projects a little more than Microsoft might. However, in terms of the first part of that question, I would say no, only because there is still a large contingent of gamers who really only play AAA titles or bigger titles for whom, for some reason, they consider indie a genre of games, when indie games are not a genre. They have a different budget level and a different development history, but they're not a genre. Indie games aren't poisonous. I promise they won't. You can play an indie platformer or a real platformer, or and you're gonna have just as great a time.
They're indie first-person shooters.
But I don't think that message has gotten through to the general gamer yet necessarily. So I don't think that there are a lot of Switch owners who are going for the Switch and are constantly playing their Switch because of indie games. For people like us, yes, because we're enthusiasts and we know that indie games are awesome. But I don't think that necessarily speaks to the general Switch user. I
do think, though, that kind of in line with what you were saying before, with sales spiking on Switch for a lot of these games, there does, to me, maybe this is just my own concept of it, but the fact that it is a home console and a portable console just feels so right for many smaller scale games that many indie games are.
That's a great point.
Because playing something like Undertale, it makes more sense for me to be able to play it on a plane or my couch or my TV instead of sitting just at my computer.
Oh, totally. And because indie games tend to be, a little smaller budget a lot of the time, you don't run into that problem where, you don't have to ask yourself, okay, do I want to play this, on the PS4 or the Xbox One because of the graphical improvements? Usually with indie games, they're going to look just as good and run just as well on the Switch as they would other consoles, which is why I think I end up buying so many indie games specifically on the Switch, because I know I'm not losing out on a better graphical experience, and I'd rather have them on the go, too.
Yeah.
So I do think that's a great angle. That I think that angle does help indies succeed more on the Switch.
Totally.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the fact that they're all put together on the eShop side by side, both the quote-unquote AAA and the indies, there's no real separation there yet. There's something. Oh, I guess the thing they introduced that we'll talk about later on is a news channel, not an actual eShop category.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
But you'll find these indie games being at the top of the best-selling list, right next to any of those like other big games out there.
Golf Story.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And people to see them, and I think it just helps blur that line. And I think a lot of indie developers are very happy about that because it helps one with discoverability, which has been a problem on Steam, to say the very least. And yeah, it also shows that, like, yeah, Nintendo, at least as much as we can see, is not like dictating too much terms to them that, oh, you got to be in your own separate category. Oh, like we want to give the spotlight to these bigger games because they have bigger budgets, they need to sell or something like that.
Right.
There isn't really too much of that necessarily going on. And to the other point about the game selling well because, like, you know, they are smaller scale, you can take them on the go. I think one of the advantages that the Switch has, this crossover like over other mobile devices, especially like phones, and you're seeing this a lot more, is that Switch is a dedicated game device, and it is a hybrid. But when it comes to its mobile side, it clearly outclasses mobile devices in that regard as like a preferred place to play your games on. And Nintendo was smart to rush in to fill in this void, not only because these indie games needed to go somewhere. I mean, they're going to be on PC, but they'd like to be on other platforms as well. But I feel like it solves two things. It brings in a high volume of quality games that are meant for, like, better on a game console. Trying to play some of these on a phone will work to some extent, but a lot of them as well will not be as a good of an experience on your phone, arguably. And that filling that void in doing that and getting that high volume there, it both satisfies Nintendo's need to have quality content, but also quality mobile style, like content that's good for on the go.
Right.
And it's just like a 1-2 punch, I feel, that's doing really well for them. And but yeah, the other points were really good and stuff. I think I do think, Ash, there's still the people who just, no matter what you say, they're just gonna be like, I only want to play one game a month. It's the big game.
Yeah, or it's, you know, or like, oh, there wasn't enough money spent on it, so it must not be as good. And I'm like, no, that's just still not true. But of course, people are gonna play what they want to play, and that's also fine at the end of the day too.
Yeah, very true. Our next game on the list, by the way, thank you for that question. That was a really good question.
Yeah.
The next game is Zarvot. This is a unique one from Snow Hydra Games. It's a game that is about friendship amongst cubes, a cube world, and it's focused entirely on 3 cube friends as they live their lives in a realistic cube world. And it's hilarious because then it says, all this information is from all these game pages, by the way. Play with up to 4 friends in both ultra competitive and party modes, and blast your way through over 9 different destructible worlds. So it's like, oh, it's like friends living together in harmony.
Right.
Blast your way.
Well,
during there. Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the story mode or what, but they talked about fighting bananas.
Yes.
Right. And on the Switch, there's like a Joy-Con
controlled
banana
Joybot
monster
character. It's called Joybot, and you control it with the Joy-Con.
That's awesome.
And the levels are origami. The visual the design identity of this game is confusing to me at this stage.
Right.
It probably all makes sense when you play it.
I need to see more of it for sure.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that I already like the sound of there being a party mode and a hyper-competitive mode, because this is something that a recent indie game that we just mentioned, Just Shapes and Beats, that game does as well. And that game can be brutally difficult, which is great, because if you have people over who don't play games as much, you just put on party mode and people can still have fun, but it takes all the skill-based element out of the window. And I think... I love it when games meet people where they are, regardless of what that is. I think games should strive to meet people where they are and allow themselves to be played in a way that suits their consumers best. Now that can't apply to every game, of course, but in general, I prefer when games do that. And party mode is a great way to take a game that is otherwise really skill-based and open it up to the layperson, people who may not play games as much but still want to have a good time at a party.
I was just thinking about like a Bloodborne party mode.
Oh man,
where, like, every time you get hit, just like confetti comes out. And, like,
nice. I'm in. I'm in.
I don't know.
I'm into it.
They could make it like it goes to turn-based combat, like bats almost, like
nice.
Fallout style. Like, all right, now you take your time aiming for maximum damage, and like get behind them. You can do backstab.
Oh,
I'm all about it.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be so funny.
This is coming out first on Switch this October. I didn't see any other platforms listed by them, so but the verbiage they use is first on Switch, so it's probably coming at least probably PC. We already gave like our thoughts on our reveal, but yeah, like, unique looking, but definitely probably need to see a little bit more of it. It's pretty much like the only trailer they have for the game. They've been doing updates on their social media feeds for this game, but this was the big reveal. Next up is a question from Onizel69. Very honest question, as I am sincerely confused by this. Do you have any idea what made Nintendo change their attitude towards indie games so much in the past few years? We kind of just answer this. But here, this is an interesting one. They were the last ones to embrace it, and because of that, a lot of indie hits missed the Nintendo platforms. And I'm under the impression now that when you think indie game, you think Nintendo Switch. This seems to be endorsed by Nintendo as indie devs as a comment on how helpful they are, and how Nintendo has been marketing indie games themselves. Of course, the continued use of the strategy is due to its success, with reports of how well indie games do on the hybrid platform, sometime outselling the other version sales combined. But what was it that kickstarted this change?
I think it was the Wii U.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It was a pure necessity. Third-party companies were running, screaming for the dumpster fire that was ultimately the Wii U, unfortunately. And I hate to say it because I love my Wii U, but yeah, it's it was a mess.
Mario Maker.
I still play a lot of Smash Brothers Wii U, but yeah, unfortunately, at the end of the day, the Wii U was a disaster for Nintendo, and I think it was sheer necessity. Third-party companies were running away from them, screaming. Understandably, and I think Nintendo needed that support. They needed, they can't make everything themselves. They needed, development that wasn't their own, that was, that shore up releases for the Switch before third parties could be convinced to come back. Now that they have been convinced, you don't see that, that sheer desperation as much. But really, at the beginning of the Switch's life, third parties were still pretty cold on Nintendo because of the Wii U, so they needed that support.
Not only that, it I think, seconding everything you just said, but also I think that after the stellar failure of the Wii U, embracing indies is sort of good PR for them too. They can be like, "Hey, we're the console of the people. Like we're friendly to these guys, and they're just like you." I think it's all just good PR for them.
Especially
it is.
Sony's kind of a little bit of arrogance lately.
Yeah. Right.
Sony, don't go down the dark path here, bud.
Like, don't
stay
do what
cool,
you did after
but
PS2.
don't get too
I know, because I remember one of my favorite parts of every E3 when Sony was still courting indies was discovering indie games, just walking through the PlayStation booth and discovering all these cool indie titles that I had never seen or heard of before. And then there was that stark drop-off where they were just like, nope, we're only focusing on 2 or 3 big-name games, no indies in the show floor.
And
now I'm getting that from Nintendo.
One of the coolest booths to, a booth where I'm like,
yeah, me too.
All right,
it's crazy, right? It's like, I don't feel like I need to go in and, it's weird.
But yeah, you're right. Yes, Nintendo is that now.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with everything that was said about the more recent kind of reason for why it's gone down this path. I think, though, there might have been this speculation, a theory of mine, but based on earlier trends, even before the Wii U's generation, I think Nintendo might have become acutely aware that there might be a problem with the pipeline in terms of getting third-party, large-scale third-party support like they had been used to. I think the N64 era was a kind of a shifting point for them, and they saw a lot of good support during the GameCube era. I think they saw a lot of their usual suspects kind of shun them on some of their franchises, most notably Final Fantasy. It's Final Fantasy used to be on your platform, it's gone, and I think Nintendo has been that was a wake up call to them, and they were we might want to have a contingency plan someday, because they were feeling still pretty okay about the Sims and N64. I think GameCube was more the eye opening.
We're not invincible,
but you saw when Wii and DS came out with the introduction of WiiWare and DSiWare as well, that they wanted to start courting smaller scale projects. Find a place for it. I think they were still trying to figure it out. What is it going to be? Is it going to be us making them and getting smaller studios? Do we have other studios? And as you said, by the time we got to Wii U and 3DS, it was basically they had lost almost all third-party support by then. But technology had caught up with them, at least on their end, because they've always been so behind with online stuff. At least their online shops were high. They exist. I know a lot of people complain about the Wii U's eShop or the Wii U shop, that its interface is nowhere near as nice and as good as Switch. People prefer the Switch version. But at the same time, they still were this is an avenue we finally can deliver. We caught up. We can deliver you indie games or any game on here, but we could very easily do this. And I think there could be a lot of reasons for why Switch wants to, is doing so well with this, everything we talked about. There's also the discussion to be had about whether or not the success of indies on Switch is maybe why they're doing their approach with the quote-unquote virtual console and their own back catalog releases. There's one thing I've been thinking about a lot, because I see a lot of people discussing this and theorizing that maybe this is a reason why we don't have the in-your-face buy all these retro games, because it'd be another section of products, a catalog that now has to compete, that these indie games would have to compete with. And those are just as appealing, especially to the Nintendo fan base.
Yeah.
Those would start to gobble up some of oh, I would have bought this indie instead, but nope, I got another buy Super Mario 3 for the 20th time. I've got to do that now.
That's true.
So I wonder if they just pulled back on it and just said, hey, this is more beneficial to us. We know our catalog is strong and we know people love our retro games, but that's not ultimately going to sell Switches. This stuff is going to get goodwill with indie developers, and it's why people might buy your platform. And then if this ever tapers off, we have this in reserve if it does happen.
Well, and it's tied in with the online service thing.
That too, the NES games.
They wanted to hold it back for that, and I imagine eventually they'll start doing Super Nintendo games in that too, right?
You'd like to imagine
that's
that.
the hope.
That's
I know.
the dream.
I mean,
we will see.
Who knows?
I would like to think that it was just sheer altruism. We need to give these guys a chance, and re-releasing virtual console games for the upteenth time wouldn't allow that. But I also think probably it has more to do with them not wanting to cannibalize their own market with the classic series of systems.
That too.
And they want to keep selling NES and SNES classics, and the way not to do that is to by letting people buy them on the Switch.
Very true.
Yeah,
altruism probably doesn't factor in. Sadly, no.
Yeah,
probably not.
This is trying to be optimistic. But probably not. I just want to it was a nice, quaint theory, so I was like, that's pretty nice. But,
right.
Yeah, I wanted to give it a shout out. But our next game, though. I like this. Mineko's Night Market from Meowza Games and presented by Humble Bundle. Oh. It is a game about crafting crafts, eating eats, and catting cats.
I love that.
I was like, what verb are they going to use for the cats?
You play along with all that. You also get to play a variety of mini games like cat racing, pachinko, and whack-a-taco. It's coming first on Nintendo Switch in 2019 and PC and Mac later. I'm going to say there's a lot of focus on cats in this game, and it speaks to me.
Yes.
I was like, yes, look at all these cats. And to me, because of that, it looks like a more interesting Animal Crossing to me. I was like, woo.
There are cats in Animal Crossing.
I know,
sort
but
of.
not a lot. They got Abe, a mythical cat
some of them
who
are
the
weird.
villagers...
Yeah.
This game absolutely just captured my imagination just with the visual style alone. I will say that I'm not I'll play Animal Crossing, but I'm not the biggest life sim kind of minigame-ish guy.
Nor am I.
So I don't know if this is a rush out day one purchase for me. However, the art style, you can tell they have hit on something. The art style is so good, and it's just so unique, and I just got warm fuzzies while watching it. I'm just oh, this feels nice. It just feels happy and warm, and it just feels like a feel-good game, or it looks like a feel-good game.
What's the I can't remember the name of it. The Japanese cat, it's like Tamagotchi but a bunch of cats. It's recent. Whatever. It looks like that combined with Stardew Valley.
Okay.
Right.
It looks like jolly vibes across the board. But yeah, Stardew Valley style stuff isn't, and minigame stuff isn't always my cup of tea, so I'll have to wait and see on this one. But plus, I'm a dog person.
I am too. Okay. I wasn't going to go there, but I'm a dog person as well.
I'm really allergic to cats. I'm really allergic.
I mean, this is a game I will definitely play, but how long I play it. The cuteness of cats will only carry it so far. I've tried out a lot of other cat games as well, the cat knocking off game, which is hilarious for 10 minutes, and then it's all right, I get it.
Actually, I do have to ask you something since we're on the subject of cats. Did you see anything about the announcement of Gato Roboto over PAX West for the Switch?
I saw a headline, but
you need to check this game out. Okay. It is a Metroid game in which you play as a cat in a mech suit.
Whoa.
You play as a cat in a mech suit, and you can get out of the mech suit. So because the cat by itself can only crawl into small spaces, there are only things the cat can do. Yes. You need to check this game out. I played the demo. It's going to be awesome.
It's coming to Switch too.
It's coming to Switch first, I think. I think it's only Switch and PC so far.
Okay.
You need to check this game out.
I don't know why I want to say I conflated it with I heard the name and I kept thinking of Chrono Trigger as well.
Oh, Gato, the
so I was like,
the
is this
cat,
some weird,
the
like, Chrono Trigger
cat
nod
robot,
or
yeah.
something? And then I was so busy working on like my current work stuff. I was like, sorry, I'm busy this weekend.
Right.
I can't focus on.
No,
this.
I don't blame you, but
Like,
absolutely
can't
check
look
it
at
out.
anything. Got to finish reviews. It's like, sorry. That sounds awesome.
Yes.
I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Definitely do.
And I definitely will be checking this out. Yeah. Our next question comes from Gonzalo Ruiz. Hi, allies. Given that Nintendo is embracing indie development and even saying they're as important as third-party support, could it be possible that in the future they let an indie developer make use of one of their IPs? Something like with Sonic Mania, in which the Sega staff were mainly consultants and supervisors on that project. Or maybe more games like Snipper Clips, in which Nintendo pushed a game concept from a smaller developer. Love and respect.
That's a great question, and I would like to say, at least in terms of the second example, we've already seen that, because that was actually Just Shapes and Beats is a perfect example of an indie game that I had been following that for years, looking forward to it, because I just loved the concept so much. And then it fell off the radar for a while, and I was like, oh man, maybe they didn't get the funding, maybe it's just... it's just not going to happen, development hell. And then it suddenly reemerged as part of the Nindies Direct earlier this year, back in like April or something. And that was, and I talked to the developers behind the game, and they were like, yeah, it's completely because Nintendo decided they liked our concept and wanted to push it in a kind of Snipper Clips-like way. So it's not exactly the same thing, because Snipper Clips almost feels like a second-party game, whereas Just Shapes and Beats does not. However, we have already seen examples of Nintendo pushing specific indie titles.
I actually thought Snipper Clips was Nintendo in-house or like second party. So that's interesting to hear that it was pushed like that. But I am all for it. I think that Nintendo should shepherd whatever they want onto this puppy.
I'm curious because about the first question about letting any developer have access to one of the Nintendo's IPs. Basically, we've seen, especially with this since the launch of the Switch, we've seen Nintendo let others, like mainly Ubisoft. Ubisoft has been able to do this. They got to take a crack with the Mario IP and do something completely original by crossing it over with the Rabbids and Mario and Rabbids. But we also got to see like we've seen other studios handle like games like their biggest IPs, but it's still like Nintendo the ones kind of like overseeing it. My most recent one that comes to mind is Mercury Steam and the Metroid Samus Returns.
Right.
All the flack that got because, hey, they already did a similar type game and didn't go so well, but this time it's like, well, Nintendo oversaw this one. Maybe, maybe you should give it a chance. But I would say I'd like to see, for specific examples, I can name developers, but I'd like to see Metroid, like a 2D Metroid, be given to maybe like either like a WayForward or a Yacht Club Games,
right?
Or something,
Yacht Club,
something similar like that. Let both of them work on it at the same time.
Or Integrates. That's another.
Would be like, definitely love to see like retro 2D Metroid like game be handed off like that. The Mother series, Earthbound. If Nintendo's not gonna do anything with it, why don't you let someone else like try it? Make like a retro style like RPG, and with the unique Earthbound style. I think that would be.
It'd be funny to see like Mario RPG or Paper Mario in the hands of someone like Toby Fox, or like, I know UbiArt isn't really a thing anymore, but like they could do something too with it. But
I don't think it's something that I expect to happen, just because Nintendo is they are so protective of their IPs and hold their cards so close to their chest. However, we have seen at least a version of that with Yacht Club Games, where Nintendo has allowed Shovel Knight to have an official presence among their among their own in-house stable of characters in the form of the amiibo, and now that he's an assist trophy in Smash Ultimate, which is awesome, by the way. So I feel like it's not impossible. I feel like there are certain developers, indie developers, who are very cozy with Nintendo, who have proven themselves, like Yacht Club Games, who may one day, possibly, perhaps, get a chance at developing a Nintendo IP.
Just
possibly.
Think the words Yacht Club Games, Metroid.
Yeah.
I got like goosebumps.
Yeah, they would. They would knock that out of the park. They sure would.
Oh man, would that be cool?
So good.
Actually, I did an interview with Yacht Club for the Udon art book one time, and they specifically talk about in that interview how they would really like to. They love Zelda 2. So if Nintendo ever did a remake of Zelda 2, there you go, right?
Don't hold your breath, Yacht Club.
I know. That never gonna happen, but yeah. At least I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it was Zelda 2 that they said they really liked.
So funny.
Yeah.
Our next game on the list Samurai Gun 2. Look at that.
Nice.
Praise the sun.
Yeah. From Technopants and presented by Double Fine. It is coming early 2019. The Switch version will have exclusive touch controls support for it.
What? Weird.
All new adventure mode, 4-player versus mode.
Oh, that might just be for the comic book.
Oh yeah, I get to that.
Oh,
later.
that would
Yeah,
make
ready
sense.
For swiping.
Because I was like, how would you?
Yeah, there's a new mechanic being introduced in this one. It is crush a bullet between your teeth to send yourself flying in a plume of smoke.
Nice. All right.
Does that just mean dying?
I don't. I guess it's to launch yourself or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
We'll
All right.
see.
It is getting a feature full-length graphic novel called Trigger Soul from Valentin Sesh, and the soundtrack is from Adam Drucker, who did First Samurai Gun, Enter the Gungeon, and Gang Beast. So,
Right.
how excited are you for this review?
Oh,
Ian?
I'm infinity% excited, especially because I actually know. I'm not like trying to toot my horn or whatever, but I know Bo Blythe, the guy who made Samurai Gun 1. And he told me one time that he was like trying to stay away from computers. And I was like, "You're a game developer."
Yeah.
It's like, what? But so I was thrilled when I saw that because I always get after him. I'm like, put Samurai Gun on consoles. It's such a good game, and no one knows about it really because it's been on PC only, by and large. And like, Samurai Gun was at PSX like years ago, and
Yeah.
so like it like took the breath away. It took my breath away to hear him. Because he lists those characters first, and then he just really nonchalantly, like no big deal, just says, in Samurai Gun 2, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
This was not what Samurai Gun was not a game that I realized I had played before. But then when we talked about it earlier, I was like, oh yeah, so I actually did play the original Samurai Gun at an indie mixer event years ago, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And when I realized that this is the sequel to that, I'm like, oh man, instant purchase.
Yeah,
because
I
I
played it-
know why you love it so much. It's great.
It's one of
Yeah.
the best controlling games
It's
I've
really
ever played.
Yeah.
The 1-to-1 is just perfect. I played it on my friend's laptop, like an indie build, like must have been 7 years ago. But it was the first time I ever played it before it was out, and I've been in love with it ever since. And it's never been on a console.
Yeah.
And it's driving me nuts. What it sounds like from the trailer, and I don't know if this is true or anything, but it sounds like there's a new story mode, an adventure mode with characters and a story. I'm very excited about that. You can play it alone or with a friend, I believe. But then there's all the multiplayer maps with some new maps, probably. But what it sounds like to me is this is Samurai Gun 1 coming to consoles, refined, polished, a bunch of new content, and an adventure on top of it.
I feel like especially
Right.
the video in the direct, the Nindies Direct made it seem just like that.
Yeah.
They
Which is great.
Yeah.
It coming to consoles at all is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like the story was like people overdosing on gunpowder or something.
Is that
was
what it
some
is?
Weird,
Oh, man.
I didn't mention that.
That's some weird, crazy. It's like hilarious.
It's like a metropolis falling apart.
Yeah,
or
Metropolis
something.
falling apart because their citizens are like ODing on gunpowder that's being stored
That
there
is
by like
hilarious.
the tyrant guy.
That
I was
is so
like, whoa,
weird.
What?
Gunpowder apparently
Yeah.
like there's gunpowder green tea, right? That's got gunpowder in it apparently.
Don't smoke
Who
after.
knew?
Who knew? Apparently, I think it's got real gunpowder in it. I don't know.
I'm not.
Seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
I will not be trying it if it.
Yeah.
I've
it's
had
not
it. It's
something
good,
I
it's
would.
good.
Okay.
Interesting.
Maybe it's just called that. I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
It's, another one to get excited for there.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. What did it say? Early 2019, I think.
Yes, it's coming early 2019, and it is I believe it is also just a Switch exclusive right now.
Oh.
Right.
I was unaware of that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it is on the Double Fine page. I think it listed it as just for Switch only right now.
Wow.
And it's also exciting because the closest sibling that has been available for consoles that I can think of would be Nidhogg, but
Yeah.
even that isn't that similar. So it's really cool to get this specific game on consoles because I remember having that same exact discussion
Yeah.
with Samurai Gun's creator at that indie mixer event. I'm like, is this ever coming to console? Because I would die to play this on
Yeah.
a console. So now I can, and I'm glad I remembered that that's what that is because I really want to play it again.
He's a genius, and he's like the nicest guy, and he never would toot his own horn or anything, but I just think he's so good at development, and yeah, seeing this is so exciting.
Awesome.
Man.
This will definitely be a
Yeah, it's
stream
like
game at some point.
Nidhogg if you had 3 bullets and there were 8 people.
That's a really good way to put it.
And faster somehow.
Yes, it is faster.
Fast-paced. Yeah, it is very fast-paced. Our next question comes from Mike Spam. Hey, y'all. And it's written like that. A friend of mine mentioned how he felt that Switch's indie focus is a replacement for the Wii U's Virtual Console. Do you think this is a fair statement? If so, how do you think you would have felt about the Wii U if it had the same level of indie focus that the Switch had instead of the Virtual Console? So if they went the same approach that they're going with Switch right now, how would you feel?
So it's hard to say because I don't think it's necessarily a replacement for the Virtual Console for the reasons we kind of already.
Yeah, we already covered that. It's more about. Yeah, like I guess how you feel. Do you really think it would have made a difference on the Wii U?
That's that's what I was just thinking about because it's like, is this a chicken and the egg thing or is it actually does one follow the other? Because the Switch was already very successful upon release. More so not. The momentum was there in comparison to the Wii U.
The Wii U's problems began right out of the gate with poor marketing and poor messaging. And I mean, even 4 years, which was the entire lifespan, but 4 years into the Wii U's lifespan, retailers still were calling it an add-on to the Wii, like an add-on gamepad. And it's like the messaging was so poor. So I don't think there's any... Yeah, the title. Even with the title. I remember being there at the reveal at the conference, and we're like, here it comes. It's the Wii U, and everyone kind of looked at each other like, "What the hell is
what?"
It honestly, it sounds like a webcam for your Wii or something. It
right.
really sounds like
service.
Or
services,
or a service or something. And so I don't think there's anything, including a focus on indie games such as we have now, that would have helped the Switch. That would have helped the Wii U.
Right, and I think that it has to go in that order. Like The indie, any number of indie games would not have saved the Wii U.
Yeah,
you're right.
But the success of the Switch is helping indie games.
Yeah, I really think you're right.
Yeah,
Everyone wasn't just indies, as we said. Everyone underestimated the Switch.
Right,
and it's just I think because of the nature of their smaller scale and usually smaller budget, so many games take forever to develop. Not like trying to knock its easier work or anything like that, but with games that developers had already released, I think it was easier for some of them to catch up and get out on Switch faster. Whereas, like, the AAA publishers, like, crap, it's going to take us a while to get some games.
Right.
Like, here's some ports, but it's going to be a while before you see those big games on there.
We just need Super Mario Maker to come out on the Switch, and then we can forget about the whole Wii U incident.
I know, right? And we actually, to speak to that point, Damiani, we've seen proof of that with, like releases like the Mega Man Legacy collections. Mm-hmm. It took Capcom, a little bit of time to react to the Switch's market success, and then be like, hey, sorry guys, we hear you. Okay, here's everything you want on Switch now. Because they were always planning on doing it if the Switch did well, but they needed time to react.
Yeah.
And AAA developers they aren't quite as mobile. They can't react quite as quickly as a smaller indie dev can. So I think we saw that play out in games like Mega Man Legacy Collection and such.
That's reminding me I think the Disney Afternoon Collection isn't on Switch.
It's still not, which is it must be a rights thing.
It has to be a license.
Yeah, it has to be.
They probably inked the deal, and the platforms that were listed were like and
it might not have sold well enough for them to be like, is it worth paying for the rights again for the Switch? Yeah.
Very true.
I wonder how hard, like if you're developing in Unity, can you just deploy to Switch? I wonder if there's like just a package you can get and that does it all for you, or if it's more complicated than that.
If you know, let us know in the comments for this video. We'll bring it up in a following episode. I promise you that. The next game was Bullet Age. We're getting near the end of the list here. Bullet Age from Halfbot, a two-person indie studio. Oh. This is a co-op action game that mixes gunplay and swordplay with platforming. They use HD Rumble not just for attacks, but for locating secrets in there. So nice, like little throwback there. The Rumble pack,
kind of like the Stone of Agony. I was gonna say Stone of Agony style. Yeah.
What's that from?
Ocarina Time.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. That's I haven't played that one.
Oh man,
the one I haven't played. I know.
Man,
I know.
It's okay.
Fair enough.
I know.
It's coming.
I didn't have it.
Sorry, I'll have to help you out with that.
I know.
It's coming to Switch as a console exclusive this November. So, thoughts on this one?
Looks cool.
It does look cool. Yeah. This one kind of got lost in the noise of the rest of the games for me, because I think just genre-wise and mechanically it looks very just standard video gamey, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there were so many eclectic titles shown off as well that I think it just kind of got lost in that noise. But having gone back and watched it again, it does look really cool.
Well, and I think if I were programming this Nindy, I would have not placed this directly after Samurai Gun.
Right.
Because they look kind of similar. The blade swipe is similar, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe
just put something in between them.
Yeah. Look similar. But unfortunately. Yeah, I do think that may have had something to do with its placement. But at the same time, I think, I do. Upon like watching it, I took a second look at it because I rewatched their trailer on their own site, which basically just what was in the Nindies Direct, and I think it's the co-op part of it. I think that might be the real hook for this.
Sure.
I feel because everything else about like progression, like finding new items and gear and stuff like that to like improve your characters and stuff. That just it's kind of hard to do something unique with that. That's not what's going to stand out. And like the trailer kept talking about that, but the whole time you could see the two players doing it together. And I know it presented as linear in the trailer, but there was one line that made me think there might be either some form of backtracking or some form of there might be able to like some form of like actual exploration, not so much like go to the end of the level or something like that. Maybe I misread it or something, like misread the vibe of it, but I think maybe that's something they just didn't want to talk about, but they were like just giving a subtle hint, like maybe a little more, but we don't want to tell you about it just yet.
Yeah, I mean, if not necessarily content or gameplay wise, but like if you get Streets of Rage or Scott Pilgrim game vibes, like the co-op, I think it could be really cool and good group stream or something for sure.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of these other ones were like more multiplayer focused. I feel, and this was a cooperative, not competitive though. So that was a nice difference. So this next question, I didn't look up what this is because I'm relying on you two.
All right.
Because I think it goes with the spirit of the question. So David asks, what is the panel's current hype level for Wargroove?
Oh, man.
Heard of it.
Yeah, I a lot of people are really going to be upset at me for this, but it's like, honestly, like a 0 because I'm not a big, but that's not because it looks like a bad game. There's a difference between like me saying because it looks like it's bad and me just saying because I have no interest in it. I don't play strategy games. I have.
What is?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
It's basically it's kind of like Advance Wars.
Oh,
it's very
hype level rising.
So that personally is not my thing, but that's not me saying Wargroove sucks or anything like that. It's just personally not my thing. So my personal hype level is like not that high. But I can understand why other people are really excited for it completely. And
hearing you say it's like Advance Wars, now I need because I've just heard the name, but I haven't. Yeah,
I think there's correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's a development pedigree behind that with Advance Wars, such that there may be people working on it who have worked on it. I don't know if that's tried. You let us know in the comments if I'm wrong.
No, I'm actually looking it up.
Okay, so I could be wrong about that.
It literally looks like
exactly like Advance Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Upcoming turn-based tactics video game by
Chucklefish.
I've heard of them.
There you go.
And Chucklefish has done.
I have seen this game.
Starbound, Risk of Rain, and Stardew Valley.
No, there you go. Well, there's your pedigree right there.
You go.
So it's almost guaranteed to be great.
It'll be good.
So,
yeah.
Hype levels rising. Yeah, that's a good way to describe that.
So yeah, mine unfortunately remain rather low, but that's only because I don't play games in that genre. Not because the game looks unimpressive, because it looks quite impressive, and it looks like it's going to be very fulfilling for fans of Advance Wars for sure.
I am interested. Also, I just got an idea. We should make a Huber-themed Streets of Rage game called like Michael Huber Hype Rising.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, Wargroove.
Next up was the World Next Door.
Yes.
From Rose City Games, being published by Viz Media, which is interesting. If you don't know who Viz Media is, manga anime licensor. You ever heard of Naruto? You ever heard of One Piece?
That? What is that?
The manga Naruto.
Naruto.
It's like I think it's this like ninja thing. They like learn
some small time.
There's
anime
like
cartoon
with
thing.
the Super Saiyans.
Yeah, they come down from like space and they throw like power balls at each other.
And that little
like Ryu Hadouken.
Yeah. The little
that one.
The Piccolo guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. And a pirate ship. Got it.
Yes, there's definitely a pirate ship.
Yeah.
I think maybe could be a steamboat. So Rose City Games is interesting because I was looking them up and they do a lot of PR marketing and it seems like they're newer to the game development side of things. The other project where they're actually involved in the game development, I believe, was they worked on the game adaptation of OKKO Let's Be Heroes for Cartoon Network.
Okay.
Which is a show they came out in 2017. I'm not familiar with it, but it seems to be somewhat popular.
Yeah.
So back to The World Next Door. It's very story driven, but when it like making choices that'll affect relationships, stuff like that. But when it comes to the other side of the gameplay, it is fast paced puzzle like battles, basically.
Right.
Fast-paced puzzle battles.
Fast-paced puzzle
We're gonna
battles?
like stand on runes and stuff to like make
I'm
symbols.
in.
Oh yeah.
I've actually heard it be described as weaponized Bejeweled, and after having played it, I can say that that's actually not inaccurate. That is actually quite true.
Did you like it though? You don't
I
like
did.
puzzle
So this is the game I was talking about where I don't just take a blanket hate of all puzzle games or
Right.
anything. I played this because, full disclosure, I have buddies at Rose City Games who are working on this, and I actually they marketed the game I recently produced, Hive Swap Act 1. So I do have a professional connection with them. However, despite that, this game is a lot of fun. And it basically is a match 3 style game, but you have full control over your character at all times.
Cool.
You actually do have to kind of like, dodge enemy attacks and like, stay away from enemies. So it is reaction and gameplay based as well. Like it's not just match 3.
So it's not just like 10 million or you're going to need a boat or whatever where you just match and then a character that you're
not at all.
controlling attacks
You
for
have
or
full real-time control over your
okay.
character at all times, and that way it actually reminded me very happily of Mega Man Battle Network. And I am a huge Battle Network fan, and Mega Man fan, period, obviously. But yes, it reminded me, clearly the shirt and everything.
Sure.
Yeah. But no, it was fun. It was like this, you match three or more light-colored runes together to do various magical attacks against the enemies that are constantly trying to assail you with their own spells. And
cool.
again, you have full real-time control over your character, so you're not just watching your character do things. You have to actively avoid attacks and stay on the move. And you can swap tiles and move them to other places to build your runes and do more powerful attacks. It was a lot of fun. And on top of that, the writing was great. For a story-driven game, which is very important.
Yeah.
The writing was great, and the art was really cool. Like, this is a game to watch out for, in my opinion.
If I'm remembering, it's like kind of isometric, or
It is. It's kind of
the
isometric.
gameplay part,
Yeah.
It
Cool.
also is going to have local 1v1 battle mode.
Ooh.
That
So
I
you
did
can
not
do-
know.
you
That's
can
cool.
do, PvP. And
I could
so
see
on.
that being a
Let's
lot of
go,
fun.
Kyle.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That's probably going to be in our indie grab bag stream that we got to do. Unlock new characters by progressing through the story. It was revealed this game had actually been revealed before, back in July, but this Direct actually was the reveal publicly that it was coming to Switch, I believe. Unless you said you had to play it. Did they talk about it being on Switch then?
They did, yeah. So this was them revealing it was going to be on Switch. They had not prior to or
The
previously
Direct
revealed.
or the event you went to?
The Direct. Well, I just played it at PAX West.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all it was.
Oh, same
so
timing.
Same
Yeah,
timing.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay,
they
sorry,
revealed
sorry.
during the Direct that it's coming to
Yeah, I
Switch.
forgot Direct. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I messed up. It's coming in early 2019 to PC, Mac, and Switch.
Right.
So look forward to that one.
Very cool.
This next one, Levelhead from Butterscotch Shenanigans, is a creative platformer for 1 to 4 players where you build and publish levels for the rest of the world to play. Ian, I think you had a description for it that was better than what I just did.
Well, yeah, it's like Super Mario Maker for like action-y platformers. I would almost maybe add like Ultimate Chicken Horse in there too, maybe. Because you can level build together.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't know if it's
'Cause 1 to 4
competitive or
players-
cooperative, but
No,
yeah,
I think it's cooperative.
when you're building together,
yeah.
But you can play and upload levels, and
Then you could troll. Yeah.
I imagine you have to make beatable levels,
No,
but
you
who
do,
knows?
You do.
I don't know. Despite my best intentions, I do not spend a lot of time making levels. That's the thing. Is like
sadly
this
the
didn't
same
do
way.
much for me because I'm not a big level creator / designer guy. Like even with Super Mario Maker, as much fun as I had with it, the first time I realized that hey, level design is actually really hard.
Yeah.
and and then to make even a basic subpar Mario level took me hours.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know what? I'd rather be playing other people's levels
Yeah.
than trying to build my own. So when you tell me the words level editor, I just kind of go, okay, that's really cool for those creative types, but that's not me personally.
I think I do like level creation, but I find that it's a fine line because things like Far Cry 5 level editor, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it, but there's an ease to Mario Maker that makes it feels more like a game while you're designing, and my hope is that this feels like that too. Also, I hope it's kind of a kick in the seat again for Nintendo to put Mario Maker on Switch.
You said more we're getting to play to create stuff. We're talking about like the little stuff they do, like rubbing stuff, like to Like in the Mario Maker,
yeah.
to change stuff, like the sound effects they do. Like
I think that's kind of dumb, actually.
okay.
But I like on a Switch, I would
stuff,
want it to just be like, here are all your options on a menu,
Yeah.
because you don't have a stylus. I mean, you can do it with your finger, I guess, but there's a TV mode
that's
too.
the thing I'm most interested to see is how they handle that.
I know.
I really hope they just do it with a
revealed.
controller. But yeah, this looks fun. I would say that the trailer for this, I hope was kind of just the attitude for the trailer and not so much for the game. I found the VO kind of abrasive.
Yep.
Like that sort of attitude, I'm kind of like tired of it.
Yeah, I hear you.
It feels so 2000 and late,
It was also it felt like that was trying to make it stand out the most.
Right.
Like attention grabbing because we don't feel confident enough in our game. But
right.
It could be some marketing person or something like, nah, this is the day and age you got to do this.
Yeah. So I hope that's kind of just was just not the greatest trailer, but hopefully the game is.
At least it didn't go so like as hard on the edge as Mighty Number 9 did. At least it's not quite that bad.
Right.
That's too far.
Coming
to PC, iOS, Android, and Switch this November.
iOS and Android. Oh wow.
Yep.
Nice.
Interesting.
Our last two games from the list. King of the Hat from Hieroglyphic Games. This was originally a Kickstarter project. This game is a simple it's controlled through simple 2-button actions. That's it. And they were saying we just want it to be very easy for people to get into and just play. Don't have to worry about your inputs. You get to focus on what's going on screen and stuff like that. In this world, your hat is your life. And if your hat gets killed, you die. So your hat is everything.
So like real life.
Yeah, it's just like real life.
You gotta hide your hat in a vault like we do.
Multiple hats.
Yeah.
There's gonna be ranked online multiplayer. There's also gonna be 4-player local multiplayer. 15 different characters, and I just want to they gave a few examples, but the last one, washing machine as a character.
Yeah,
nice.
Washing machine.
The character. See, this trailer had some funny. Well, it was the dude reading the VO, I think, but this had a funny vibe to it. Like the one character's name is Birthday.
Right, I was gonna bring him up.
Whose every day is his birthday.
I love that.
That's just funny.
That's what sold me on this game. I already want to play it. I'm probably gonna buy it. This was one of the games of the Direct for me. I love the aesthetic. I love the simple just pick up and play gameplay. And yes, the humor. That is 150% my style of humor. So when he said, here's Birthday. His birthday's every day. I'm like, oh, sold, done.
And it's just like you can't prove that.
Yeah.
You can't disprove it. So it's like okay.
It's like you just have to take him at his word, and it's like, okay, that's his whole character. Oh my gosh, and I'm all about it.
I wonder if they had a personal experience of the I've seen it in movies and stuff, but the person who goes into a restaurant, my birthday today, free food, and come back next week, it's my birthday.
Exactly, it's his birthday still.
How's your birthday? It's my birthday.
He just has 365 IDs that just say every day is his birthday.
Hilarious.
For what it's worth, Andre and Tom played it at PAX, and they said it was a lot of fun. I didn't get a chance to, but they said they had a good time, so it does seem to have the gameplay quality to back up its fun sense of humor and cool graphics.
Do we know the release on this?
Yeah, coming early 2019.
Early 2019, okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this one looks fun. Good group theme, too, also.
The final Spotlight game. I think this game was designed by my alter ego. Not my alter ego, my twin, basically.
Yeah.
Untitled Goose game.
Yes.
From House. Part stealth, part sandbox, with slapstick humor. You play as a goose. Your goal is to ruin everyone's day.
I love it.
The whole game is the exquisite troll part.
This is the troll part. No, that's almost like this is the troll game. I was like, one up.
Just the fact that it's called Untitled Goose Game is brilliant to me.
This is going to be great at parties and it's fantastic.
We're streaming.
Oh god,
mandatory.
Yeah, stream for sure.
You have a few beers and get into some Untitled Goose Game, and seems like you're guaranteed a good time.
It's coming early 2018 to PC and Switch.
Oh, it's already out. That's great.
Early 2019. It's not already out.
The ultimate troll. It's been out for months.
All right. Yeah. That's gonna be great. Can't wait to play that one. Definitely looking forward to it. The art style. I like the kind of flat look of it and everything like that, and just a Goose's animations.
It kind of has like a Donut County kind of vibe, look to it, sort of.
Yeah, actually it does.
Mixed
It
a little
does.
bit with Unfinished Swan. That has sort of
It does have a bit of that, Unfinished Swan vibe to
What
it.
if this is actually a sequel to Unfinished Swan?
That, you know what? I can't say I would be entirely unhappy with
Unfinished
that.
Swan, Untitled Goose.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I can't say I'd be entirely
It's also
unhappy
like
about that.
Frog Fractions 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, taking that away. They ended it with a montage of just the plethora of indie games
Yeah.
that are coming or are now out, such as Desert Child.
I've played that.
Acapara,
It's very cool.
coming December.
Yeah.
This is a Dawn's big game, right?
No,
that's
Oh god, what was that called? I forget the name.
Yeah,
of it.
I forget
It starts
now.
with
It's
an
like
S,
one word.
maybe?
Yeah.
It
That
has a
also
similar
looks amazing.
look.
That should also come to Switch too, but it's not. I don't think it
But
is.
Desert Child, is really cool.
It was side scrolling like on the bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
It's like
Sorry, that
Journey with a dirt bike, but like a hover bike.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, what is that game called? Whatever. But this looks
We can
really
look
cool.
I can look it up.
This has there's like a little. Your whole goal is to raise $500 to get a ticket to, like, get off world or something like that. It takes place in that kind of.
Really good.
And you do like these hover bike races, and there's a little town hub, several hubs I think, where you can buy ramen and like buy items, upgrade your stuff, eat and drink
Buying
and sleep
ramen.
and talk to people. Yeah, it's got just really cool vibes.
Yeah.
This game. Yeah.
Wasteland 2 Director's Cut from In Exile coming September
Whoa.
13th.
All right.
Next week.
So intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Bastion from Supergiant Games also September 13th.
Nice.
Classic.
We got a Deluge coming. Undertale from 8-4 coming September 18th.
Nice.
They've
September
been-
18th. Okay.
Yeah, they've been like talking about that one for a while. Like, we just can't tell you yet. Can't tell you it. I remember doing one episode. It was like, why'd they reveal it's going to Switch without a date? It was like, it was a big deal. Like,
This is one I never finished on PC, and I'm definitely gonna pick it up again on Switch. And
Same with me in PS4. I got to
Yeah.
the very end, but I just so many people kept talking to me about it and
Right.
kept trying to tell me
Right.
about the big.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take a break and
Yeah.
to come back to it when people are talking about it less because I really want to experience the big thing.
right, I've only been
You
like
know,
mild
yeah.
spoiled. I know it gets like weird.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
that's like it.
But it just didn't seem like the kind of thing that was worth having
Right.
spoiled and ruined for me. I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? Just gonna,
Good choice.
Yeah.
I think that's-
Also, it was a very emotionally stressful game for me.
yeah.
Because
It's
I
an
didn't.
emotionally stressful game.
I
Period.
wanted to play completely non-violent,
Yeah.
and it kept playing like emotions on me, and I was like, I don't like feeling things. Stop it.
There's one scene from that game that still gets me. It's towards the end. It's not like the ending or the final boss.
Careful down, man.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say it.
Oh,
Fair
okay.
enough.
Because I want
Okay.
you to see if you get it as well. Because
Yeah.
when it happened for me, I was just like, oh, I feel like a piece of shit.
Even toward the beginning,
I might
that,
know what
like,
you're talking about, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I won't say anything either.
The caretaker character toward the beginning, I was like, this is too intense emotionally. I don't want to fight. Yeah.
Jackbox Party Pack 5 from Jackbox Games coming
Sweet.
October 2018. Another Jackbox party stream coming definitely in October.
And those are always pretty reliable.
Oh yeah.
I like those.
I
Three
love
wasn't-
me a
One
What
of
was
them,
yeah
four wasn't
weird
the
humor one, the one mode or whatever. that
Right,
was
yeah,
really
that one
off.
game we didn't like.
Oh, that wasn't Jackbox. It was something else, right? Or was it? Yeah, I forget.
Do we know if Party Pack 5 does this one
That's You? Is that what it's
contain
called?
does it contain a permutation of Fibbage because that game is awesome? Like Fibbage 2, Fibbage XL, I don't know. Fibbage is one of the best Jackbox games in my
I
opinion.
like Quiplash a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Which one had the TKO, the T-shirt one? That was 3, I think.
Yeah, that
That
was
one was
3.
really good. Yeah, Jackbox. I've been a lifelong fan of You Don't Know.
Yeah,
Jack,
we were.
so-
I was mistaking thing of the PlayStation exclusive one that was part of that like line.
I think it's called That's You.
Yeah, that's.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
The humor in that,
Oh,
dipped
yeah,
dipped
it
real
was-
blue, real suddenly. And we were all like, whoa.
Oh man,
Transistor from Supergiant Games coming November 2018.
Yeah.
nice.
Don't miss that one. Dragon Marked for Death from Inti Creates.
Yes.
Coming
Oh.
December 13th.
I got to play quite a bit of this
Yeah.
at PAX,
What
and
is this one?
this is like a 4-player action platformer RPG. Basically, it's got local and online, I believe, multiplayer up to 4 players, and it's done the art of the game is done by the same guy who did Mega Man 0, which is some of my favorite art in all of video games. And the pixel art animation style is 100% Mega Man 0, and it's awesome. So I got to play all 3 missions, probably like 20 minutes collectively at PAX, and guys, this is one to watch out for.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dragon Marked for Death.
Dragon Marked for Death. Yep.
Yeah.
Light Fingers from Numismatic Games coming September 20th. Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery EP from Capybara, October 2018.
What's Light Fingers?
That is... It was in the montage.
The heist jumping over stuff, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They shadow dropped Into the Breach from Subset Games, makers of FTL. FTL's awesome game. So yeah, Into the Breach. Everything I've heard from it, specifically from Ben Moore,
I started it and I liked it, but it didn't like. Everything I'd heard about it is like, oh my god, it's the greatest game of all time.
Yeah, same here.
And I played. Granted, I only played like 3 or 4 levels. Like 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. But yeah, I was like, it's good, but it's not blowing me away. So maybe I just need to give it more time, probably.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because the nature of the game's more complex. Because for me, like FTL just like caught me like.
Right,
2 jumps. I was like,
FTL,
okay,
I get
we're going.
You get it immediately.
I will say that the trailer, I heard the same thing you did. I was like, oh, the best thing, and the trailer didn't do a thing for me. Yeah. And that just maybe because of my own preference of genre and such, but it just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, and if you're not into tactical warfare, then probably it's just not gonna.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned earlier, they did launch a new channel on the Switch dedicated to indie games, but it's a news channel. It's not an eShop like channel so far as I could tell, like a category. And finally, this wasn't the final game of the montage, but I'm bringing up last because we're going to do a little bit of a tiny discussion here on it. The Messenger, which is already out from Sabotage Games, came in on August 30th. And the reason I bring up the Messenger is because Ash and I actually reviewed the game for each of our respective outlets. So you can check out the review at GameXplain on their YouTube channel, or on Easy Allies on our YouTube channel as well. But before diving in, I wanted to get like Ian's thoughts because you haven't actually really played it, but
I watched your review.
Yeah, you watched the review.
I didn't cut it, but I saw it. Yeah.
And you've seen it in action. Like, what are the vibes you got from it?
It looks cool. It has the world swapping thing, so to me it just reminded me of Outland and Guacamelee and those kind of things, and I like those games. I've heard really good things about Guacamelee 2. This is one of the ones that I'm like interested in, but I haven't bought it yet.
I just want to say I love you for mentioning Outland. Nobody remembers that game,
Outland,
and that game
man.
was so good.
It was good, and I'm so bad at bullet hell, so I definitely hit my skill wall on that game, but I really liked Outland.
Oh, such a good game.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. I want to ask you this question, Ian, before we get into it. You might know the answer, but like when you first saw it, or even now, do you realize it's like the jumping back and forth between the 8-bit and 16-bit? Do you realize it's not did you realize it's not something you manually do, but it's like only it's only in specific instances?
Yeah, going into the review, I thought you could just do it. You like unlocked an ability, but then watching the review, I saw you have to like jump through little vortexes or warp holes or whatever to. Yeah,
that's good to know. I'd seen it. I saw it at E3, so I already knew how it worked. But I was kind of worried because I saw a lot of comments leading into the release that people thought it was like an ability. Assumed it was an ability you were gonna get,
right?
And you could do it on, and that was the Metroidvania part of it. Is that like you instantly jump back and forth between 2 different worlds at any screen, and it's like that's the whole plot of it.
Yeah,
that's not quite it. So I just wanted to like get that out of the way because for people who like haven't seen anything about this game, so I want to start with a question with you, Ash. It's been about a week since the reviews hit and stuff. Like, how do you feel now, a week after reviews? How do you feel about this game, like, thinking back about it?
About the same way I did. I gave it a like it, so I did enjoy the game. I think I feel slightly let down by it, only because it ended up not being what I thought it was. And I don't know if that's more my fault or if that's just the way the game was marketed. But I've been following the game since PAX East, where I first played it, and I was like, oh my god, it's like a Ninja Gaiden. This is awesome. I love, because so many retro-style platformers use the more obvious inspirations, like Mega Man, Castlevania, Mario, and that's fine. But Ninja Gaiden, man, like, not as many people remember those games on the NES, and I loved them, and I was instantly in love with what I played at PAX East. And I thought what I was getting was a full-length action platformer, and what I got was half an action platformer, half a Metroidvania. And it's that Metroidvania part for me that was that kind of dampened a bit of my love for the game. Not that I don't love Metroidvanias, I do, but the game doesn't feel like it was meant to be one.
So that's a really good point. And actually, watching your review, Ash, and I think I watched 1 or 2 other reviews who had sort of the similar sentiment about that. That I don't want to everyone throws out the term like identity crisis or something like that. Like it doesn't know what it wants to do with itself at a certain point. But thinking back upon it, the switch when it happens, I won't even say it's like necessarily like halfway. It doesn't feel like, to me, it never felt like it was 50-50. I will definitely concede on when the game switches over to that part where you finally have the ability to go, you have a map. It's like big reveal. You get a map.
Yeah.
And now like there's all these areas from the world's unified. You can go to all these different zones again. You can like instantly cross them, and I would concede like the backtracking factor. The backtracking factor got really excessive.
Yeah.
And that almost felt like it was a little bit of indicative of that. They had this cool idea, like, what if the surprise is we do a Metroidvania and, like, all the levels we made are really connected and, like, you gotta go back through them. But I think it's also consequences. Maybe you can't really do this or needed more time. Like, one or the other. Either it's really hard to do this and they didn't have enough time, because I do, like, reflecting upon it, the linear parts of it are definitely the strongest parts of that game.
Absolutely.
Even even parts where you can go back and forth between in 8 and 16-bit styles, that would have been enough for me just in like linear fashion. Thinking about that would have been like a really that would have been an excellent game. I think at that point, I think like besides like the really excessive backtracking, I feel that it's almost the objective list that you're trying to accomplish in the Metroidvania part of the game is really, it's not tracked and communicated as well as I think it could be. They do this thing like, here's a cryptic quote, like figure it out, or you can just pay, here's where it is. But even doing that, like the logic of things flowing together, I did a second playthrough for a stream, and I got pretty far in the time limit I had. Knowing what to do, it made more sense. I wonder if that was the problem. Like, they got to a point where they just knew their game so well that it made so much sense to them. They're like, no, this flows perfectly and stuff. Like, they just get enough outside, like, feedback from the game that I think I was able to overcome a lot of it, and it didn't register the way I think some other people saw it, because I was like, oh no, I'm gonna figure this out and stuff. Like, it's okay. Like, this is like a challenge. It's supposed to be challenge. Like, it's like the difficulty in figuring this out and putting up with this is part of the challenge. It's a retro game. So I might have been a little bit more forgiving on that end of it, but like, I definitely agree with you on that I feel that is not the strongest part of the game, and compared to like any other similar type Metroidvania game, it is very weak compared to games that like start out as that. Like, like people are like, oh, how's it like to like Hollow Knight? I'm like, Hollow Knight blows that part. Like, let's not even talk about Hollow Knight and this together. And I think calling it a Metroidvania out of the gate is like, it's weird because it's revealed, they talked about it, but you don't get there for so long, and people I think people are going to go into the expectation it's a Metroidvania game. Oh, why is it linear? Like,
exactly.
It's so weird. It's about it.
How long is it linear for?
It's like a good. I mean, it's a good probably 5
about that
ish
5
hours.
to 7-ish hours,
so
depending on how.
I saw some people say it took them 25 hours to beat or 30 hours to beat or something like that. And I don't know what that playtime thing was accurate or not.
Right.
But I went back through my footage. It was about 10-ish hours for me, and I did get all 45 of the medallions.
It was about 10 hours for me too that I got to that point, and I just it's just not the kind of game that I feel lent itself to Metroidvania style gameplay. And I could say that about Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden doesn't have stages that I would want to play through forwards and backwards.
Right.
It has it's a great action platformer, and it's the same problem with the Messenger, except it wasn't a problem with Ninja Gaiden because it wasn't trying to be a Metroidvania. The Messenger has these stages that are a lot of fun to go through the first time, but then the game asks you to go back through them backwards multiple times, and it's not as fun. They're not the kind of levels that feel like they're made for exploring.
It was not Symphony of the Night Upside Down.
No,
they did not
even close.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Because of the smaller nature of this game's probably budget and scale, Devolver Digital publishing it obviously comes from a smaller team,
right?
Team from what's it called? Montreal, Quebec.
It's Berserk. No, not Berserk. I can't remember.
Games,
Sabotage.
But
Sabotage.
Their location. Because I thought they were French at first.
Is it Montreal? Montreal.
It's
Quebec?
they're Canadian.
Yeah.
Because French Canadians, I'm like, it's got to be in one of those areas. But I don't want to incorrectly label that. But the team wasn't that big,
right?
So I think maybe it was they did spend a long time on this game. And,
totally.
And this was a thing that this the lead developer had been thinking about for I think 10 plus years or even longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
It was something he just really wanted to bring to life, and Yeah, I just don't know. Like that was the thing because you think about Castlevania Symphony of the Night, like Dracula Upside Down, like how perfectly planned that was.
Right.
They knew this was going to happen. You have to go back through this, and a lot of the reviews did point out that these levels were, as you said, Ash, were not meant to go backwards through again. Like,
right.
It's not enough.
It almost felt to me like they had that, just the action platformer part of the game, the first half, and it almost felt to me like they said, "Oh man, our game isn't long enough. We need to figure something out here and make it longer." And I don't know if that's actually what happened, but it doesn't feel like it was designed to be a Metroidvania from the ground up. And I said this in my review, kind of in my closing. I said, the problem is it's not a bad game. Like, it's clearly the production values are off the charts. It's a good game, but it's merely a good 20-hour game when it could have been a great 10-hour game.
I think it's a fair point. I mean, I still think I definitely can see the faults in the latter half of the game. I think I still kind of enjoyed it, especially when you get to some of the newer parts. So they have completely brand new areas you go to. But at the same time, you could also argue that could have just been like linear progression to get there versus did you really need to backtrack to go back through same levels to get there? I can see that in terms of like a Metroidvania, that part of it wasn't designed very well. Well, there's still good parts on it. So I can see it as like being a very great linear game. And then just like it's a pretty okay Metroidvania style game. And then when you mix those together, you get like it's a pretty solid game. You know, that's I think where most people are coming to. But I think I think you would agree with this statement that you think it would have been better if it stuck to being a linear action platformer through and through to the end.
100%. Yeah. Because the core gameplay mechanics are strong. The controls are great. The ninja controls exactly how as you'd expect them to. The wall jumping, climbing, all of it is great.
It's really good.
The core game's great.
The wall... it was same thing as Ninja Gaiden problem. It's a little sticky. I think they were trying to emulate Ninja Gaiden.
Yes,
stickiness. Yeah. I don't really like that. It's a little annoying to me, but I got over it. Like it's whatever. But like in terms of like polish, it's really good. But I think it was missing just a tiny bit of finesse that like Hollow Knight I think edges it out on.
Like,
I would agree. Hollow Knight just had like it was like every single mistake was your mistake in that game. And I could say mostly the same thing of like the Messenger. There would be like it was like this is getting really granular here. Like but like to me it was like a very small difference between you. But when you can like be put in the same breath of that's impressive. Like,
no, I agree.
Like this is extremely impressively well executed in terms of its mechanics and everything feels really good and you just have so many different options to like with the cloud step stuff and then you get like the joke, the grappling hook. It's not a grappling hook. What's a grappling hook?
To speak to that point, I have to say I just want to like call out the writing. The writing is really good in that game. And yes, it may be a little self-aware. Yes, it's a little tropey, but at the same time, I think it does go beyond being tropey. And there's a lot of optional. Like, did you ever?
I did.
You did the cabinet thing.
You did the cabinet thing. Did you do all the side story?
Like, I did, and they were really good.
Because you get the developer thanks to do that.
Oh, I must have missed one then because I didn't. I must have forgotten to do one along the way.
So the very last one you can do from the shopkeeper. He basically gives a story, and in between each of them, it's basically telling the story of this game's development from this guy's perspective, but told through like a metaphor essentially. And between each of the major like statements he makes, he says thanks so and so, thanks so and so, and when you get to the credits, you will see those names in the credits and stuff. And he like in each line kind of calls out like something that helped them along the way, and he thanks that person, which is like that person did something. It's a really nice. Kind of like
Easter egg,
but like also
stuff.
Tribute and stuff.
And I did love how like when you examine the cabinet over and over again, like he didn't lie to you. He's like, "Hey, you won't be able to skip this text. I'm gonna get you for it," and he does. And I love stuff like that you don't have to go out of your way to find, but if you do, that it's there. And I have to say the writing was uncommonly good.
Oh yeah, I like that part of it. I think the last thing I want to talk about is the jumping between the 8-bit and 16-bit thing. Do you think it was? Ultimately, in the end, do you think it was cooler than just like a neat audio-visual effect? Do you think it really added much else to the game?
No, but that audiovisual effect added a lot. It was really cool. Like that effect itself, just aesthetically, it spoke so clearly to my video game music loving soul that I loved having, switching between these 8-bit and very Sega Genesis style 16-bit versions of the same track on the fly. Like that to me technically is really cool. And I did like, by the way, too, that the 16-bit portion was very specifically modeled after a Sega Genesis style 16-bit and not SNES style, because you don't see that quite as often these days, emulated as often.
That's why I threw out. I only used 8-bit, the words 8-bit and 16-bit in my review, because I was like, I'm not saying like, because I was like, I know it's NES and Genesis, but I'm not gonna say anything. It's gonna start a debate, and like I'm not throwing my hat in that ring. I'm just gonna say 8-bit and 16-bit, because that's clear. That's very neutral. A very neutral route with that, and I didn't see any of that in my like comments for my review, thankfully. But
well, that's good.
Yeah, I saw some other reviews who did call it like Super Nintendo's. Yeah.
That, to me, there's no debate. That is not those instruments, like that music is unequivocally not Super Nintendo. So I'm sorry if you're saying that's what it is. You're wrong. I'm sorry. I'm going there.
Okay.
I'm digging my heels in.
You can back it up.
Yeah.
I will say that I remember I said that like it drastically alters like environments, but I was talking about like I forgot to qualify it by saying the visuals. Like Azona was like a nice forest, now like ruined, like blah blah blah. I was like, oh wow, that's very stark. Or like the sky ruins, all cloudy and very like like nomadic. Like
I did like that.
Avatar did like this dark, like demonic, not demonic, but like dark, evil lightning, and like it's like this the world is ended vibe. I was like, whoa.
I did. Those are my favorite instances of the world switching, where the two versions were the two instances of the world were very different. Like those cloud ruins, like you were saying. You've got the nice, peaceful 16-bit version, then the dark, stormy 8-bit version, and I thought that was really cool. So yes, while I don't think that the world switching mechanic added much to the gameplay, I do still think it added a lot to the game, because there aren't any other games doing that right now.
Yeah, I would say that. It was nice because it was very simplistic puzzle stuff you solved. Like, in the in 8-bit, sorry, a little tease there. In 8-bit version, like a path would be blocked off, but in 16-bit version, it's now opened. Or there'd be a series of gates. It's like, you gotta figure out the order to go through them to get through to the next area in terms of like it's been changed or something. It never went beyond that, but it was still kind of fun. Like I had like a good time with it. And there were one or two like, I gotta backtrack really far to do that. It's like, did I do the right one? But also played into that's a really far way to have to go back to activate that gate.
That's the other thing is the fast travel system was poor. Like it has a fast travel system, but barely, and you have to unlock some of the gates.
Because they put so many of them in quote unquote, not quote unquote, the literally new zones that like you had to like figure out how to access them in the first place. Now you can. I'm like, what?
And there are certain required places you have to go to advance the story that are not near any fast travel location, which kind of plays into that borderline absurd amount of backtracking that the game requires.
Yeah, very true.
So do you think if they put in some more fast travel depots or whatever, that it would improve the experience overall?
Yes, that would have helped, but I still think that the best experience would have come from them just having it be a straight linear action platformer.
I think though, the very least, I think you're gonna get more of this. Barring it was a sales disaster, I think it'll sell pretty decently.
I hope it does. I mean, I think it does deserve it.
Yeah, yeah. If you finish the game,
cool.
if you finish the game, not spoiling anything, but like, there's obviously. They allude to like there should be more.
Right.
There's more to this at some point, maybe.
And it doesn't feel like with Devolver Digital backing it. It feels like it got a pretty decent marketing campaign. Like it feels like it's going to do okay.
I think its focus on like the Switch. I think a lot of people were. I mean, it had a pretty big discussion thread on like Reset Era for that, and I was kind of surprised. Like, oh wow, like they're like, don't underestimate people wanting like not just retro style game, but like a Ninja Gaiden type NES Ninja Gaiden style game. Like, people really wanted something like that.
And like you said, it does seem like, barring a sales disaster, that they want to make another one. It's quite clear.
I agree with that. But try and check it out if you can. That'd be my my advice to you.
Check it out, but don't marathon it. Like,
don't try and do
I think one of the problems I ran into is I had to marathon it for the review, and it's not the kind of game that you want to marathon. Like, definitely play it in chunks, like little bite-sized chunks, and really enjoy it. And when you get to the Metroidvania aspect, just pace yourself, because if you try to do it all at once, you're going to get really, really burned out.
Yeah, that's where I took like my first break. I think I was like, all right, like, all right, this is just okay. To wrap this up, it's a fun question real quick about like Messenger themed from Connell. One of the big hooks in the Messenger is switching between 8 and 16-bit styles. While it certainly would be more difficult, could you see a game implementing a switch between 16 and say 32 or 64-bit styles? What unique gameplay hooks could you see this providing? Or is the typical gameplay styles of those two generations so different they wouldn't be compatible?
Oh, I think you could definitely do a 16-bit. I mean, I'm already imagining like a Mega Man X game where you have the 16-bit X-style graphics right alongside the 32-bit X-style graphics they're both very much traditional 2D platformers. Like, I think that could absolutely be done, and I want to see it be done after you mentioning that, because now I want it to happen. I also could think of a thing, and I don't know how technically feasible this is because I'm not a developer, but I could also think of something where you have like a 16-bit traditional platformer, and then you go into a 2.5D type thing for the the more modern take, like a Mega Man X8 type thing, or Klonoa 2, or oh god, that just makes me think I want a new Klonoa game. But like I think that could totally be done, and I would like to see that be attempted personally.
Yeah, I was thinking of Castlevania. Like, you could go Castlevania 4, which had parallaxing, but then you could go Symphony of the Night style, like jump all the way up.
Totally.
128-bit? I don't know what you even call that anymore, but like, yeah, you could do that, and it'd be nuts.
I want to see.
Here we go.
No, make it simple. I just want to see like 2D Mario, and you're going down the linear course, and then all of a sudden, like, you just like hit some gate or something, or warp pipe, and then it all becomes completely 3D. And
Odyssey does that.
And you're looking at this, and it's like, wait a second. But yeah, that's within a course. But like, I want to see like the background. Like, it's like,
in real time.
Yeah,
right.
Awesome.
But then like the background, you go past like what was over this like these blocks right here. Like think of Super Mario 1, the block steps going up to the flag. You go on the other side of it. Like, what's behind this over here? Oh, there's a path this way. It's like, oh, it can go
right.
Like, I mean, 3D is a little crazy, but like, let's say like you're doing linear 2D Mario, and you come to like a gap, and like almost like Super Paper Mario style.
I was going to say,
you swap, and then now you're going down a different, like, basically you have like intersections in the game, like in the levels, and you start going down multiple branching paths, and so it's like you got to reach a goal, but there's now multiple paths to go down.
You see a little bit of this in Runner 3, actually. It's kind of it's kind of it's not exactly what you're talking about, because it's a 3D game. It's the graphics are 3D, even though it's a 2D style gameplay. But you do eventually, like, it plays with perspective in clever ways, and in the sense that you eventually see there are multiple paths to the goals in some of the later levels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would love it if it is Mario, like 2D Mario, and then it goes Mario 64. But the first time it happens, Mario like has an existential freak out. It's because it's going from like flatland to 3D, and he's just like, "Oh God, what's happening?" I think that'd be really funny.
Well, that would be
That would be pretty sick.
It's like the Super Mario 64 face thing. It like goes to that scene. He's like, "Mamma mia!"
He like sees a mirror, and he's like, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
Oh no! Fun question. Thank you for that. That's going to wrap it up. That is the end of our episode. I know it went long. I want to thank everyone who submitted questions for this week. I'm glad we got to get to most of them.
Good questions.
Yeah, it was fun.
So thank you for that. If you'd like to submit questions for consideration for a future episode of Friend Code, you just give me a $5 and up patron on our Patreon, patreon.com/easyallies. And the week that we are recording a new episode, I will throw up that post calling for submissions. It is, again, as I said earlier at the beginning of the episode, it's very likely the next official Nintendo Direct will be the focus of the next episode, so be on the lookout for that.
We don't have a date on that
We don't. It's been delayed, but they said the very near future.
Yeah.
I'm thinking next week.
Because there's also Thursday, right? I mean, there are some people like, all I can think about is games, so don't realize that like a tragedy happened. That's why like it's late.
Yeah.
They're like, stuff's leaking already, or it's gonna leak. You gotta release it now. It's like, calm down.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
The only thing I ask of Nintendo is please not Monday, because that's my birthday.
Yeah,
so
said,
please
Monday's not the best day.
Thank you very much. So please not September 10th.
Tuesday or Wednesday, please. Would be great. Or next Thursday.
Tuesday's too crazy. We got too many things.
Tuesday.
So if you're watching
Wednesday
Nintendo,
Thursday,
please.
Nintendo, Reggie.
Please take our request into account.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Maybe by the time we record next episode, maybe we have some TGS stuff. I mean, only the pre-event's going to happen before the next episode, but TGS proper, I believe, happens right after the next Friend Code. But who knows? Maybe Nintendo's not a part of TGS officially, except this year they are going to help their third-party vendors in an official capacity this year. It's some weird caveat or something, but they're not having a booth or anything like that. But who knows? Maybe there's some third-party news coming out of that.
Oh, TGS. Thank
you both for coming again, and Ash for taking time out of your busy schedule. And where can, again, everyone, I know GameXplain, but just again, where can people catch the GameXplain's work and your work?
You can find me on GameXplain again. That's youtube.com/GameXplain without the E, so it's literally GameXplain. And you can find my work there. You can find my work in various Udon Entertainment art books, as well as if you're a Homestuck fan, you can find, I produced the Hive Swap Act 1 video games. So you can find my work in various places, but mainly GameXplain. And I just want to thank you guys for having me back. I always love doing these, and I'm always happy to come back. So thank you for continuing to have me back, and I just enjoy doing stuff with you guys because I'm a fan of Easy Allies as well.
Thank you very much for that. Do you have a Twitter handle?
I do. So my Twitter handle is just my name. I'm kind of uncreative like that. It's Ash Paulsen, ASHPAULSEN, and it is just at Ash Paulsen. Please, I just basically tweet about video games and lots of video game music. In fact, I have a daily hashtag called hashtag 365 Days of VGM, where I share a new video game tune every day, and it's proven quite popular. So if you like video games and video game music, give me a follow on Twitter.
That's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun.
I've got a few of them.
Oh, thanks.
Nice. With that, until next time, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.